Larry, people like you coming on my podcast so much. I get your fans sending me shirts for you. And I mean, this is how much they like you talking to me. So I appreciate
Did,
that.
did you get another one? I've already have got the first one from Australia. It was great, or New Zealand. The kangaroo with the paw. I should have worn it today. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll wear it next time.
When I saw that, so for people that aren't going to know this, I have a PO box. People want to contribute financially and whatnot, and a huge thank you to all the supporters that do. But I get this package. It goes into a special box because it wouldn't fit in my actual PO box, and it says to Larry Johnson, Coffee and a Mike LLC. That's my PO box, and
Yeah.
I opened this up, and I had this long letter addressed to Larry and a Hawaiian shirt, and I said, I thought, I'm like, well, there's no way this is for me. And I forgot didn't the letter say something like, if you're ever short of, if you're ever out of a shirt, here's one to wear.
Yeah. 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 It's a great shirt. Like I said, I was not thinking. I should have wore it today, but uh, close enough. Got the blue Hawaii on.
It's amazing though. You have people listening to you. I mean, this guy was from Australia, and to be able to reach people, with the digital technology, and credit to you, Larry. People in Australia are listening to you.
Yeah. Well, to try to speak common sense, and they appreciate that I'm not out there trying to do the political spin, say the politically correct thing. Just trying to call straight balls and strikes.
Well, and so here we are. We're what are we, a month? No, we're over a month now since he took office.
Well, 19 days. Tomorrow's the 20th. It'll be a full month, 30 days.
What is your assessment of so far what the Trump administration has done? Let's start domestically, and then we'll work out to globally.
Well, we're seeing that in an odd way, it was a blessing. They stole the election from him in 2020 because if Trump had won then, I don't think he would have had felt he had the mandate or the wind at his back that he does now. And I'm not sure we would have seen the kinds of dramatic changes in the attack on the bureaucracy. He certainly wouldn't have had the relationship with Elon Musk. That's for sure. So, it's actually sort of worked out to his benefit because he spent that 4 years in exile, let's call it, planning his return. And I think he had some good long discussions with people like Russ Vaught, who's the head of Office of Management and Budget, about how to use the money to attack the deep state. And, central to this, there's a lot of, some of Congress is trying to assert that they've set up these, listen to this, independent agencies that Trump can't touch. And you go, whoa, wait a second. Our Constitution, we got three branches of government. We got the executive, we've got the legislative, we got the judicial. In the executive, the person in control of the executive branch is the president, not anybody else. Congress doesn't have any authority to tell the executive how to organize itself. Congress' job is to appropriate money that the executive then can oversee and execute the spending of. But they don't get to set up independent agencies that are somehow only responsible to Congress. So what Trump came in, they hit the ground running on January 20th. One executive order after another, taking on the whole DEI corruption, eliminating the transgender nonsense, getting that out of the military, getting that out of government. It has, this kinds of denial of reality to pretend that men can be women, women can be men, and men can have babies. This just and pretend that that's somehow based on science. I mean, when you're talking to crazy people, there's, and they refuse to acknowledge their own insanity. You're just wasting your time. So he came in very, very well prepared to deal with that. And it's been, let's call it the tsunami, a Donald Trump tsunami on the domestic front. On the foreign policy front, uh, he's he secured a ceasefire in Gaza, and despite his claim that he wants to take over Gaza and create a new Riviera there in Gaza, as well as displace all the Palestinians. Despite that talk, he has actually secured a ceasefire, which at least within Gaza stopped the killing of the Palestinians. The Israelis are still killing Palestinians in the West Bank and destroying their property, etc. But at least the folks in Gaza have got some respite. Uh, he has shied away from launching, going along with Israel's demands that the United States help them attack Iran, and has got the door for relations between Russia and Moscow opened again, and talking back and forth with Putin, going to actually establish normal relations. So, the important accomplishments on that front. Uh, some of the tariff threats, we see, Trump is still Trump. He's still the showman. I did a post at Sonar 21 recalling the time that he appeared on Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation event. And he's in the ring, and I'm going to kick your ass and let you challenge. I'm going to fight you. It's all the words. The words are not actual.
Yeah, he froze up for a second.
So we saw that last, a week ago Wednesday, when he was saying, "Release all the hostages by noon, or there's going to be hell to pay. Hell to pay." Not all the hostages were released by noon, and there was no hell to pay. So part of, like I said, part of it is he's just doing what they call fire for effect. He's or he's just making noise to make noise, or maybe to produce a response, a reaction. But overall, I think people have been just astonished at the pace of activity. He has. He's not sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, one of the things that I still, the forever showman. I mean, I probably said this to you before. He is the most resilient son of a bitch that I've ever seen, with all due respect to him. And he is a phenomenon on the political landscape that we'll never see again after this.
Mm-hmm.
But when he signed those executive orders in the arena in D.C., I don't know how many thousands of people were watching as he signed those executive orders. I mean, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant that he did that.
Yeah.
But, it with Gaza, I mean, what will happen there in terms of all those people? I had Matt Ho on, and we were talking about this, and he was, before you answer,
who was that?
Matthew Ho, Matt Ho.
Oh yeah, Matt. Yeah, Matt.
And the people that, first of all, I don't know how 1.7 or 1.8 million are still alive. I mean, that, to me, that's remarkable in and of itself. But are these people, I mean, will it become a Vietnam, Larry?
Well, let's look at, this is the disconnect between where I talk about reality and then Trump's bombast. When he brought up trying to create a new Nakba and forcing the Palestinians to move elsewhere, people are saying, "Oh, that's the Trump plan," but it's a non-plan, because an actual plan would go like this: we have secured X amount of territory in Jordan and or Egypt, and we are allocating $300 billion to construct communities that we will then have these Palestinians who are currently homeless in Gaza go to live in. So we're going to get that money appropriated. We're going to start building those. They will be completed in 6 months, whatever the time frame. So my point is, you can't move people out of Gaza to these big, beautiful homes that Trump's talking about until first you build those big, beautiful homes, which requires first you got to get land in those countries, which are saying, we're not giving you any damn land. You're not going to build any communities here. So right off the way, it's a plan without a plan that's not going anywhere. It appears that Trump's proposal so outraged many in the Egypt, Jordan, and the Saudis that they've decided to pony up the money and create their own fund to go in and rebuild Gaza while the Gazan citizens are there. Create temporary tent cities while they proceed with the work of reconstructing the area. That may have been Trump's intent all along. Get the United States off the hook, get these other people involved, make them pay for it, not us. Now, from Israel's standpoint, again, Israel's they got a bit of the Vince McMahon mouthing off, oh, we're going to destroy Hamas. Yeah, just like he did over the last 15 months. Israel had every conceivable advantage that you could have in a war. Hamas is at best a militia armed with, lightly armed with rifles, handguns, maybe an occasional sniper rifle, including up to a 50 caliber Barrett. But they don't have mortars, effective mortars. They certainly don't have artillery. They do have some mortars, but they're not many. But they've got artillery. Hamas does not have artillery. Israel does. Hamas does not have helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft. Israel does. Hamas doesn't have tanks, armored personnel carriers. Israel does. So Israel had every advantage. Plus, they had them confined, trapped into a specific area. This is, if you go back and look at what the Germans did to the Polish defenders of Warsaw. Now, this was after the Jewish uprising in the ghetto. But a year or so later, the Polish army, what was left of it, rose up to fight the Germans in Warsaw. The Germans crushed that in about a month. Here was an area, comparable, let's call it comparable to Warsaw or to a part of Poland. Israel couldn't conquer Hamas. And the losses the Israelis have suffered, I've seen a document from a credible source that the Israeli military is understating the casualties by as much as 80%. That they may have actually suffered over 5,000 dead, not 900 and some dead soldiers. And the number of wounded is far larger than that as well. So Israel has had, they've suffered a major blow. It's been serious losses, and it's hurt them from a readiness standpoint. So with that said, Israel's ability to militarily solve this problem with Hamas and Hezbollah is, I say, unlikely, if not impossible. So they're going to have, the only option is to negotiate, and they don't want to negotiate. Instead, they're talking about wanting to attack Iran, but what we're seeing is that the United States is not going along with it. And if Israel is foolish enough to launch an attack, unilateral attack on Iran, it's likely going to lead to a destruction of major portions of Israel. So the whole situation in Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria remains very volatile and unstable.
Does it feel more volatile now than what it did even 60, 90 days ago, or the same?
No, same. Yeah, if anything, it's probably a little less, simply because Trump got that ceasefire put in place, and despite Israel's claims that they're going to break it and go back on the offensive, they haven't so far. And I think, frankly, they're going to face a lot of pressure from behind the scenes from Trump to go through with phase two.
What about Syria and what Jelani and that continued back and forth battle between HTS and the Kurds.
Well, that has quieted down a little bit. They've continued the makeover, the I'll call it the Al Qaeda makeover, where Al Jilani is no longer Al Jilani. He's like Sharma. They've changed his name,
He looks corporate.
and
He looks corporate.
yeah, he's gone corporate. Brooks Brothers. Uh, he's held conversations with Vladimir Putin. Oh yeah, please stay, please be our friend. And um, the problem is the word's coming out that a significant number of the leaders of HTS and this current government, they're all Turks. They're not Syrians. They're foreigners. They're Turks. So Turkey is, so far Turkey's got this is a Turkish proxy. Let's call it that. And how long uh, we have seen. I did see something last week that Abdullah Öcalan, the head of the PKK, reportedly was encouraging his followers to enter into a ceasefire with the Turks. So they may be solving it diplomatically. I haven't seen any follow up on that.
If there was is Turkey interested in a ceasefire?
Yeah, I mean, if the PKK stops attacking them, sure. Yeah, they certainly go for that.
How would they partition that country up then at that point? Because Israel has part of it, right? Jelani has part of it. The Kurds have part of it.
Well, the Kurds are they're out in far eastern Syria, and the question there is, you know, um, will Turkey just let them keep that, or will Turkey insist on taking control of it? Um, Israel only controls a very small portion down in uh, southwest uh, Syria, and there's actually a bigger swath that's under nobody's control. It's tribal. These clans, these tribes that control a certain territory, they're armed. They defend themselves. Uh, Jelani seems content to stay in Damascus.
What you know, with that,
Place, and yet all the initial.
you froze up a second, Larry. Say it again.
I said uh, Syria is a chaotic place, and the notion that um, Iran and Russia suffered a major setback there, I think, is proven to be not true. Um, Iran is still able to smuggle weapons and money to Hezbollah, and Russia is, the current Al Jalani, aka Sharma, is going hat in hand to the Russians. So it's and Turkey also recognizes it needs to stay on good terms with the Russians.
And Russia, for now, they're going to keep their military bases, or partially, right? Is that what I'm
Yeah,
interpreting?
yeah. They're so far they haven't been forced out, but they're not major bases. It's again the air base that they used was there primarily to support Syrian troops fighting Al Qaeda fighters. Now that the Al Qaeda fighters are in charge of the country, the base doesn't have a lot to do, and I'm not sure how active they remain.
What about from Iran's standpoint, then? Do you think that are they on edge with everything going on, or is there an anticipation that Trump will work out some type of deal?
Well, the Iran takes comfort in the fact that Russia and the United States are talking because Russia and Iran signed a security arrangement, a pretty widespread security deal, economic, political, on the 17th of January, 3 days before Trump was inaugurated. That remains in effect. And in a way, it basically obligates Russia to be the protector of Iran. And at least Russia's in a position to assure the United States that Iran is not working on a nuclear weapon, that Russia has that under control. So Iran's listening to all the bellicose threats coming out of both Israel and some people in Washington. Some folks are like, oh, we've got to destroy, we've got to attack Iran. It's just crazy. Um, so Iran's, it's making preparations. It's, building up its air defense. It's building up its missile capabilities, continue to produce missiles, including hypersonics. To the extent that if the West leaves them alone, nothing's going to happen. If the West comes after them, the West, United States and Israel will pay a very heavy price.
Has Hezbollah been able to recalibrate or rebuild from the whole pager walkie-talkie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I mean, they were rebuilt. That that didn't that did not damage Hezbollah militarily. It killed a lot of civilians, killed and maimed a lot of civilians who had nothing to do with military operations. It was a terrorist attack, is what it was. Israel engaged with terrorism.
Yeah, and I saw Netanyahu, he gives that pager plaque to
Yeah,
Trump.
yeah, shameful.
Okay, so the Middle East, it's still very, very unstable, but you feel like it's lessened a little bit since Trump took office.
Yes.
But this thing
Yeah.
it could go sideways real fast though too.
Yeah, yeah. It's always a likelihood. I think they're going to just sort of bump along uh, with Israel's going to be trying to figure out what to do next because Hamas, neither Hamas or Hezbollah appear willing to take the kinds of actions that would provoke Israel into doing something. This next week is next week will be important or Sunday because Sunday is the funeral for Nasrallah and it's going to attract quite an international crowd of dignitaries. So we'll see if Israel leaves them alone, or the worst case would be for Israel to decide to attack that gathering, and attacking it end up killing people from other countries, including some international political leaders.
What
I don't think Israel will do that, but you never know. There's always a crazy.
what about last question in regards to Israel and Turkey? I mean, do they appear on a collision course or
Yeah, they've been, there's been words said back and forth. Initially, they were cooperating. Now, uh, particularly a lot of 20-year-olds in Turkey are calling for taking back the Al-Aqsa Mosque and expelling the Jewish, the Zionist invader. Is how they're talking about it.
is that a down the road type of thing? Could be years down the
Yeah,
road.
it's not. It's I don't think it's immediately on the horizon, but it's there. They're saying it. They just haven't taken the steps to make it happen.
How should the United States what would their role be in something like that? If
Uh,
Turkey if there was if Turkey and Israel escalated, being Turkey's a member of NATO, Israel's the United States quote unquote greatest ally in the Middle East.
who's paid the most money to politicians? It's the golden rule. Those with the gold get to make the rules, which means Turkey's out, Israel take control.
Hmm. So we shift over now to Russia, Ukraine, and
Hmm.
Trump. I mean, some of the stuff he says is funny. What did he call Zelensky? A comedian, dictator?
Yeah, comedian dictator, which is true. This um, what's happened over the last week has been phenomenal. The speech by Defense Secretary Hegseth, followed by 2 days later by the speech by Vice President J.D. Vance, signaled that the relationship with Europe is over. We're breaking up. You need a Neil Sedaka singing "Breaking Up is Hard to Do" or something. Um,
I lost you. We're not getting a lot of
Vance was
luck.
correct.
We're not getting a lot of luck from the internet gods today, Larry. You froze up
Yeah,
again. So
yeah. I checked. It's on your
yeah.
side. I checked my connection. I've got a
No, it's me.
440,
I'll take it.
41.
I'll take the hit. It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
So you said breaking up is hard to do. So Hegseth.
Both Hegseth and Vance's speeches made it clear to Europe that they're on their own now. The United States is not going to fund Ukraine. If they want to, if anybody wants, if the Europeans want to send any troops to Ukraine, they can do that on their own, but it won't have anything to do with NATO. And if they get attacked, NATO's Article 5 is not going to be kicked in. And that they're welcome to buy any weapon system and equipment from the United States to give to Ukraine, but Europe buys it and then they can give it away if they want. But the United States is not going to fund this operation anymore. That was clear. And then Vance made it also say, hey, look, the enemy's not Russia or China. I wish he would have said, I can go to Tiananmen Square and I can kneel down and pray for aborted fetuses, pray that they not be aborted. And the Chinese aren't going to arrest me. I can go to Russia, to Moscow, stand outside the Kremlin and pray the same prayer. The Russians are not going to arrest me. But if I go to London and do that outside Parliament, they will arrest you and put you in prison. So who's the authoritarian state? That was Vance's message to him. You guys are a bunch of damn hypocrites. You're claiming to uphold international rules and human rights and freedom, and you're just the opposite. You're an oppressive authoritarian state. And by the way, you're on your own anymore with respect to Ukraine. This is, here we were in this 80-year relationship with Europe, and it's like your spouse comes down after you've been married for years and said, I'm tired of living with you. I'm moving out. I'm running off with the next door neighbor. Have a good life. What? That's a kick in the teeth. That's what Europe got. They got a kick in the teeth from the United States.
How about Zelensky being, saying that he won't agree to terms? If he doesn't have a seat at the table, not that it matters, but what could he do in some type of act of defiance?
Not a lot he can do. What? Is he going to launch an attack on the U.S. Embassy? He's already launching attacks into Russia, so big deal. He's not a very smart man. He's proven right now that he is not a smart person. Incredibly stupid to directly challenge Donald Trump like this. Hasn't he paid attention? Can you show me one single person that's got into a verbal back and forth war of insults with Donald Trump that has defeated Donald Trump? How about Marco Rubio, little Marco? Zelensky's stupid enough to insult Trump in return. Tell you what, now it's becoming clear in Kiev that Zelensky no longer has unfettered, uncompromised support. I can take advantage of him now. He's no longer the favored son. In fact, could you view this as an opportunity to move against him? So this is only going to escalate. It's gonna make it bad for for Zelensky, and he stupidly decided he'd like to get into a trading insults with Donald Trump contest. Unbelievable.
So how will Europe now respond? Because it doesn't appear they want this to end either. Will they just march it without the United States to attempt to keep this going?
Well, they can try, but what are they going to keep it going with? They don't have a weapons supply. They don't have tanks. They don't have armaments. And they don't have money. Oh, and they don't have troops. Other than that, yeah, they can keep it going. You know, Macron has he held a emergency conference on Monday with a select few European countries, and they came out pissing on each other. UK initially said, "Oh yeah, we'll do 25,000 troops," and then Laura said, "No, we don't have those. We don't have enough." Uh, the uh, the Germans said, came out and the Germans said, "Are you crazy? We're not gonna go into Ukraine." So there's no unity within Europe about what to do. The only thing they're unified on is they're mad at Donald Trump and JD Vance. They agree on that. We're mad at them. We don't like them. Well, you know, this ain't the high school lunchroom where you get to sit with the kids you like, etc.
So now going to Europe, isn't German elections? I think are next week,
Sunday.
Sunday. How do you see that?
Well, Germany's got the problem that all the countries have. There's no mandate. You've got AfD, Alternative for Germany, Alternative for Deutschland, as the leading uh, party, the leading candidate, but they're going to only get like 32% of the vote. So that's what I mean. It's a plurality. There's no mandate. You don't have a majority of people say, "By God, we want this person. This is what we want to do." They're very fractured. It is a divisive situation. Well, the same's going on in France and in the United Kingdom. So that's the problem with Europe. They claim to be this unified front, but in terms of their domestic policies, they don't have any country in Europe, apart from Hungary, who actually had a clear mandate to rule. All the rest are balkanized. They're made up of smaller representatives, all combined together.
The So with the AfD, if they win the election, what will that mean? What kind of message will that send throughout the Euro
Well,
or Europe?
that you've got a strong minority of people against the existing government policies. But if AfD wins the election, they're not necessarily going to be able to form a government. In fact, the losing parties, the parties that lost out to them, could unite and combined would have a larger percentage of votes than AfD, which means that they could then form the government, even though a plurality of people supported AfD more than they did the other two or three parties.
Are you at a point personally? Would you go over there right now for anything non-work related?
To where?
Europe, to Germany, or to London or
No,
France?
no. Yeah, I'm afraid I'd get arrested.
Yeah, and how do you at this stage with technology and with the mechanisms they put in place, I don't know how you can reverse that, Larry.
Well, you can reverse it by the government policies that saying, okay, we're going to now respect free speech. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's like feels like the government, whenever they put something in place, they never reverse it when it comes to control and power. And now in Europe, especially in Europe, they have it. They've got the grip on people.
Right.
What about, so they can't do anything for Ukraine. What do you think happens to Zelensky in all this?
Well, he's burning his bridges with Trump because, when things get dicey and he needs to flee somewhere, prior to these insults that he hurled at Trump, he might have said, okay, they'll at least let him come to the United States. He's reportedly got property in Miami and that area, and then further up the coast in Florida, around like Jupiter. Um, and but in light of his insult, I could see Donald Trump saying, "Pull his visa, don't let him in, don't assist him." Just order the CIA, now let him. He's on his own, or let the Europeans handle him. Um, so, and then I could see Trump potentially, if he's bought property and they can show that that property was bought with money stolen from U.S. funds, seize that property and sell it. It'd only return a few $1,000,000, but it would be the principle being demonstrated.
Yeah, that's the other thing with the USAID. I mean, how showing how much money was sent to Ukraine,
Yeah.
wasted.
Well, I know of one case that's currently being investigated that involves $49 billion.
Billion or million, Larry?
Billion, B, Bravo, BI. Yeah, and it's in the Caribbean. So they know which the bank accounts that it's being held. So the efforts are underway to try to recover that money.
Is that a public story that you're talking about, or
No,
so you
no,
can't? Can you talk the details of it, of what it was
no.
used for?
That's all. It was stolen out of Ukraine. That's the bottom line.
Wouldn't you think? I think we and I talked about this last time. We were talking about Mexico and the cartels. So let's say there's 49 billion in a bank in the Caribbean somewhere, right?
Right,
Wouldn't
right.
there be some type of affiliate that would connect it with Chase or Wells Fargo or Citibank to where they could just go in and freeze it? I mean, for God's sake, they freeze Americans' money. People have been debanked
Well,
for.
they could. I mean, again, when people are laundering money like this, they usually do it in a way that makes the banks a lot of money. So why should the bank do anything to um, interfere with that money making process? And they don't necessarily have any evidence that the money's stolen.
What about if we move back to the United States and the border, countries on the bordering countries, Canada and Mexico? I thought Trump had already designated the cartels as a terrorist organization, but I saw
Well,
that.
they did. They did. It was signed into effect today by Marco Rubio.
Mm. So, what does that mean now for? I mean, all the cartel that's here in the United States and what you're dealing with down in Mexico, Central America, and South America, right?
Well, it means that you could have military rules of engagement, which instead, law enforcement has certain rules that it has to abide by in dealing with the cartels. They can't just go out and kill them. They may have to arrest them, have to have probable cause, and you have to collect and maintain the evidence in a way so that you can present it in court. Uh, JSOC, if they dispatch, SEAL Team 6 or uh, Delta Force or 75th Rangers to confront a particular gathering of one of the cartels, Valle del Norte, whatever, Sinaloa, they can go in and kill them and treat them as enemy combatants. That takes the problem off the FBI as far as having to get a prosecution in court. But if we do such a thing, it's going to really, I think, elicit some kickback or blowback.
Blowback how so? Or some type of retaliation?
Yeah, yeah. Those criminal gangs that are up here in the States they'd go blow up a DEA office or a U.S. Attorney's office.
Do you think they'd cross that line though? Because once you do that, then all of a sudden public opinion will be so they'll get smashed. I would think.
They don't give a shit about public opinion. Once if we start killing them, they're going to kill us. Now it's just a question of who's got the toughest group of people. Um, you say the advantage exists with the government, the United States government, as opposed to the cartels.
What do you think happens there as time marches on?
Well, they could get out of hand. We've tried killing our way out of it. It's never going to stop. You kill leadership there, new leaders will rise up. As long until the demand for illegal narcotics in the United States dies, or the United States becomes very effective at taking the money that the drug gangs are selling and trying to move, this problem is going to continue.
What do you think the future is of the Democratic Party?
I don't think they have a future. They're lost. Uh, that's why, and they've proven now since uh, the election in November and the inauguration of Trump on the 20th that they're just crazy. They don't have any positive vision for anything. It's just it's entirely negative. So I see them working against themselves.
Yeah, even over the weekend, they had the 50-year anniversary for Saturday Night Live, and I didn't watch it, but I saw the clip of Tom Hanks. I don't know if you saw that. He's wearing the MAGA hat, and
Yeah, I heard about it where it's just, totally disgusting on Hank's part. But again, this is how stupid these Democrats are. They think that by demonizing the Trump voters, that it'll make people say, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that because I don't want to be made fun of." And instead, it has the exact opposite effect. Oh, they're attacking and calling us pariahs and outsiders. We'll show them. Hence, Trump is president now. Kamala Harris isn't.
yeah, and it also symbolizes these people just still don't get it. They just don't get it.
Yeah,
You think the country's more awake now than ever has before to what's really going on?
starting to. That's what I say. I think we started at the outset by saying it was a blessing in disguise that Trump didn't win in 2020. I gave him 4 years to plan to figure out, how to fight the system, and he's doing a very effective job of fighting the system now.
Overall, the state of things, domestically, internationally, how do you feel in comparison when we spoke at the end of the year?
Uh, w- w- I think we've got less risk of going to war overseas, um, and we're on our way to fixing some of the serious domestic problems we've had. So I think we're in a better situation now than we were a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I never was one of those people that believed that the United States was on the brink of a civil war. Um, People are too comfortable, and they still, as long as they can eat, drink water, drink their lattes, and go to yoga. I just didn't see it. Um, I
Well, I
just
mean, go ahead.
no, it's
Sorry.
okay.
Well, no, I was just going to say that the concept of the Civil War, the Civil War was possible in 1860, 1861 because every state had an armed militia, and it wasn't just like a National Guard. I mean, it had a pretty, let's call it, advanced military capability for its time. Uh, the current National Guards have limited resources, and it's not clear that they're as loyal to the particular state. So it'd be hard to pull off from a military standpoint. Um, Culturally, though, the gulf is widening between certain areas of the country. Those areas in California that embrace the whole transgender phenomena are small number of places in Los Angeles, San Francisco, big cities, but it's not prevalent when you get outside of those cities into the suburbs and into the farmland.
What's the story that's grabbing you right now, Larry? What are you working on? That's
Nothing. Well, this back and forth between Trump and Zelensky. The war of the words. So, and Zelensky's going to lose on this and lose badly. Uh, it's to me, I'm just astonished that he decided to pick this battle, but he did. So he's going to pay the price.
Well, we'll see. How much longer do you think before this? How much longer will this go on before we'll start to see some type of resolution?
Uh, I don't think this can go on for more than a month without him being forced from office.
Where can people find you, Larry?
Sonar21.com.
As always, thanks for doing this, and I'm sure it won't be that long before we talk again. One thing about I've said this a million times, so I'll say it again. We are living in a period that is just incredible to be doing what we're doing, and
Right, right.
there won't be, God only knows tomorrow what there will be to discuss.
But there will be something. I guarantee it.
Yeah, this isn't slowing. It feels like it's picking up speed right now, in some aspects. Do you feel that,
Yep, yep.
Larry? Until next time,
All right, my friend. Thank you, Michael.
mic drop.